Hello, I'm Charles Beckwith, and I'm Fashion Tech Guru on just about everything Twitter, Instagram, what have you. Um, and this is my third video log. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. And today I'm thinking about my granddaddy, old Mr. Brick. April 23rd is his birthday, and I mentioned in a Facebook post last week that we lost him about this time last March. And I always think about my granddaddy around Easter time because he was a gardener and he spent a lot of time outdoors. He was an outdoorsman, and he always liked to see the world come back to life in the spring. He liked to see green things and flowers and vegetables come up out of the ground. And Easter especially reminds me of him because, like many Christians, he would, on Good Friday, do a lot of his planting in the garden. That's the Friday before Easter Sunday for good luck. So he'd have, big vegetable garden. He'd have a lot of flowers, usually a cat or 5 cats, and so I was kind of missing him early this morning and all day today. I think a lot of people in my family are missing him this time of year. But with everything closed up right now, not just flowers still here in New York where it's still a little chilly, but shops and restaurants, I hope that we'll soon see New York City and all of America bloom again. Everything's kind of closed up. We want to see it open and be alive. Just have to make sure that happens safely. Well, so yesterday I published the American Fashion Podcast, episode number 249, featuring an interview with a very smart woman whose ideas about technology and the fashion industry have really been ahead of the curve for a very long time and continue to be. Her name is Lisa Morales Hellibo, and she's the co-founder of Refashioned Ventures, an investment company, and the Worldwide Supply Chain Federation, which is working to bring technology to the global fashion supply chain and supply chains in general. And I think it's interesting that we recorded this conversation a few weeks ago before the whole coronavirus thing really blew up. And I wonder now if what she and I were both saying in the interview about how quickly the supply chain monitoring technology is going to be installed, if that would be a different conversation now, and whether it will be a very different conversation in the next few weeks, because certainly the phrase of the year may be "it's the supply chain dummy," kind of reaching back to the Clinton campaign, the first Clinton campaign, where they kept saying it's the economy, stupid. Supply chain is really something we haven't paid much attention to, but we should have been, and a lot of people in the fashion business certainly pay attention to it, but not in the way they should. Not in the sense of knowing every part of it and knowing how it works, and if it breaks, how do you patch it back together? If the end point is the other side of the planet, can you quickly reconnect it to another other side of the planet, like another point where you can get your goods in, get things manufactured? We've had some issues. So, but the rest of that conversation is pretty interesting as well. So episode 249 of the American Fashion Podcast went up, I guess yesterday. Yesterday. Last couple weeks have been a bit of a blur. I've been working on so many things. I was hoping to get episode 250 out this week, but I just keep running out of time. Who knew launching multiple startups at the same time would be so much work? But I'm making great progress. There's some really cool stuff happening with the one called The Pod, That's my startup focused on building communication tools to support podcasters and eventually other kinds of leaders and influencers. I think in my previous video log last week, I reported that we had the CTO signed on. As of right now, we also have a project manager and a backend developer. So, to all three, Max and Steph and Cassandra, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining the team. And I'm really excited to be working with you all. Um, and Rob Sanchez is my co-founder on that project, but his wife Julie had a new baby arrive this past weekend, little girl named Emily. So he's beyond preoccupied. I'm very happy for them and relieved that it went so smoothly with this whole New York City hospitals situation with the current state. They're all safe home now, which is wonderful. Um, so the pod's going great. Max, the CTO, and I've generated a long technical document spelling out how different parts of the app are supposed to work. And we're continuing to refine that and sort out what has to be built in what sequence. And we're working with the project manager on that and set up a system called Jira that I'm sure a lot of you probably are familiar with. We're using Jira and GitHub to kind of coordinate the development of the software. And I don't know, I've been part of technical projects before, but I never really noticed that how separated the front end and back end are when you develop software. Like the guts of the machine, it's like you're building a computer system on the back end, and then there's another computer on the front end, and they pull from each other. One pushes data to the other one, and the other one pushes data back to the other one. They work together, but they're separate systems. The front end and the back end are they're, they're not built like welded together. They have this exchange of information that goes on. I think that's fascinating. Um, what we're missing at the moment on that project, we're looking for a business person, like a project manager, not a project manager, a product manager slash business analyst, because I know that I often get stuck down in various rabbit holes of how things work. I get into the technical stuff and the creative stuff, and I really need somebody on the team whose job is to keep an eye on the ball revenue wise and make sure we aren't just building cool technology, but also a functional business that can scale. Um, and also, we're missing a front end developer who can take the really powerful back end elements that are already being built and connect them to a super user friendly interface. So, if you're interested or you know anybody for either of those tasks, hit me up and we'll talk. So the pod, that's one of six. There's the pod and Harmony and the Augmented Group. Those are all projects on Gusher. And then Greyland Fireworks Corporation is my holding company and also my R&D company. And most of you know I'm a co-founder at Open Source Business Incorporated, which is also known as Mouth Media Network, which is its big subsidiary. And that's a business-focused podcast network. So that's five. And the sixth, I've got six startup companies, is Cerise. And I have a lot to do today, so I'm gonna leave you hanging. And I'm gonna talk about that one next week. So here's my question of the week. Have these recent circumstances changed how you think about your space? Whether that's your home, your home office, your access to private outdoor space or the lack thereof. What new perspective have you gained in the last few weeks about where you live, where you stay? Leave your comments, questions, feedback wherever you're watching this, or hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at FashionTechGuru. That's the text right here at FashionTechGuru. Thanks for watching.